Hello, everybody. I am Teresa Carpenter, and welcome to Stories of Service, ordinary people who do extraordinary work. This is my first podcast, and I'm so honored to have sitting next to me, Charlie Pickard.
That's right. Your one and only father.
Yes. And so to kick us off, he's going to record this later for my intro, but I thought I'd give you guys a little bit of a slice of what this is going to be about. So, Dad, if you want to kick it off using your voiceover skills and let us know a little bit about the podcast.
All right. From the moment we're born and lock eyes with our parents, we are inspiring others. By showing up as a vessel of service, we not only help others, we help ourselves. Welcome to SOS, Stories of Service, hosted by Teresa Carpenter. Hear from ordinary people from all walks of life who have transformed their communities by performing extraordinary work.
Thank you, Dad.
You're welcome.
That was awesome. So I'm super excited to be doing this today and be talking to you and getting a little bit about your background, because I think that we all show up in our communities as vessels of service in one way or another. And by showcasing some of the work that you've done, my hope is that it will inspire others to consider community service in their neighborhood or in their career or their community. So I first want to start off by talking a little bit about your career and your chosen path and how that transformed itself into service. What got you on the path that you decided with your career as a voiceover artist?
Well, very twisted and complicated. When I was, we lived in Toledo for the first 10 years of my life. And there are several big bridges there. One of them only a block and a half away, up the Anthony Wayne Bridge, which everybody up there called the High Level. And I thought designing and building these kinds of things would be an inspiring thing to do. So in the back of my mind for the next 10 years or so, I thought, I think maybe I want to do that. And when I got out of high school here in Columbus, I signed up to go to the Ohio State University right down the road from us, and entered the College of Engineering. And I studied that for, 7 quarters there out of 15. It was a 5-year program. And at first it was I really enjoyed it. The math started to get to me a little bit. And by the time I got to my 7th quarter, I thought, I'm not sure I'm really cut out for this kind of stuff. I'm not a really technical guy. And this, you have to think how several things are going to mesh together to do something right. So I started my 8th quarter, and about a weekend, I thought, this is not going to work. So I went in to see the head of the department and said, I'm withdrawing from school. And he wasn't happy about that, but I was determined to. My folks were your grandparents were kind of, holy cow, now what? But I said, I'm going to go back to school. I've got a different plan. I decided to enter the College of Arts and Sciences at Ohio State, and more specifically in the broadcasting and radio and television. It was I'm trying to think what the fancy. The fancy title for it. But there's theater, speech therapy, and also radio and television. So I went in the radio and television branch. Really loved it. Had the opportunity to perform on the university station, WOSU, which I might add is one of the 5 oldest radio stations in the United States.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was. They went on the air, I believe, in 1920. They were about the 5th station that got a license. But anyway, they had a program, 2 programs, Boys and Girls in Bookland and Once Upon a Time in Ohio. And the fellow that ran it, Ed Talbert, asked people that were going to university, students, if they wanted to perform. And you'd read from scripts and or from a book. So I got into that, and then Ed asked me one day, he said, "Would you be interested in recording some programs for me and editing them down into hour-long radio programs?" And I said, "Sure." Plus, I'd get paid, not a whole lot, but it was. And so I did that for a while. I'd go out to places, one of them was the head of the U.S. Bankers Association or something, talking about how to be a good banker, and then I'd bring it back, snip it, and put it down, and make it into an hour. Then Ed said, the guy that works in the afternoon on air is leaving. Would you like to try that? And I said, I certainly would. So when I was, I guess I was a second year senior, I started working on WOSU radio from 4 in the afternoon until sign off, which was about 9:30 at night, plus Saturday mornings, and really enjoyed it. And I managed to graduate. Everybody was relieved at that. And I was doing fine. One of the people in the station, or rather in school, had said, well, now, when you graduate, your deferment runs out. And I said, well, he said, you better, go into graduate school or they may draft you. And I said, I've been going to school for 17 years. I think I'm just going to take my chances, as it were. And by golly.
So you weren't even expecting to be drafted. That wasn't like your plan wasn't to go into the Army.
No, it wasn't at first. But then in October, they invited me to come down and take a physical. And the lady at the recruitment, or not the recruitment center, but the selective service center said, now, boys, if you pass your physical today, you'll be in the Army before Christmas. So I passed, and I was.
How did you feel about that?
I thought, well, it's something else new to do. I wasn't sure. I thought, well, I'm not, it's a lot more fun not going into the Army, probably, because I never planned to make a career of it. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, there is that portion of your brain that says you owe something to your country. If they ask you, do it.
Do it.
So I did receive an invitation. And
invitation.
I waited on my half birthday, December the 6th. And ordinarily, we would have gone to Fort Knox, Kentucky, but that was crowded. I mean, to overfilling. I ended up spending a week at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, which is where it's kind of the induction center, and you take tests and you get all your equipment and your clothing. And then I went to Fort Gordon, Georgia, which is at Augusta. And I spent 2 months there. Well, I went home for Christmas. Then I went down in January and February. I went through here. And so at the end, where are we going to go? Some guys there was one fellow that he went into the sergeant's office and sort of peeked through the files to see if anybody knew where we were going. Some of the guys that said they were going to, Fort this or Fort that. Mm-hmm. I was going to an APO, an Army Post Office, and which meant I was going overseas somewhere. So I called home and told my parents. I said, I'm going someplace, but I'm not sure where yet. So when we graduated from basic training, it was on a Wednesday. Thursday, then several people were called out there. About 12 of us said, get on the bus. So the bus took us to Charleston, South Carolina. And we got there at the Air Force Base, and we were put up for the night. And one of us said to one of the Air Force fellows, you any idea where we're going? He said, yeah, Panama. The next day. So I called home and said, I'm not going to be coming home anytime soon. So there we went, took off the next day, and it was a long, boring flight. Back then, no jets. It was a 4-engine prop plane, and landed there. And we were taken to Fort Clayton, which is in the Canal Zone and very close to the Panama Canal, and just put up for the night. Nobody knew where we were going. But this other fellow and I, that we've both been in the same company at basic training, we were both radio people. And I said to one of the other people there, the residents, I said, is there a radio station around here or anything like that? And he said, oh, yeah, it's down at the end of the park there. So the little building 209 at Fort Clayton was, at that time, it's called the Caribbean Forces Network, but they changed about the same day we got there to the Southern Command Network. And John and I walked in, and one of the guys behind the desk said, can I help you? And John said, I think we're supposed to work here. Oh, they thought it was gold because they hadn't had a new person in there in months.
So you did train in the Army to go into broadcasting? Well,
a little bit, but because they knew it. And when we were taking all these tests, this one fellow, he was an E5, and he said, what do you want to do in the Army? And I said, well, this is what I've been doing. I've got a degree in it, and I've been working here, and I'd like to have a chance to do, maybe there's armed forces broadcasting or something like that. And I said, he said, okay. And he's wrote down a few things. And I said, do you have any idea if I have a chance to get this? He said, oh, you got it.
Wow.
And because
that quick.
Yeah, I said, are you sure? He says, yeah. I was, not to toot my own horn too loud, but he says, you're an HAP, high aptitude personnel. And I scored well on the tests.
I see.
He said, so guys like you, if they can give you what you want, you get it. And he says, you're going to get it. So I got it and then shipped to Panama. And it was very interesting. At first I was recording what they call Army Hometown News guys. I would go around to different, because
still have those.
Do you?
Oh yeah.
Oh, well,
hometown news releases. Yes.
In the canals, in the canal zone at that time, there was 2 or 3 Army bases on the Pacific side, which is the side I was on. Several Army bases on the Atlantic side. 2 or 3 Air Force bases. Naval Station, Rodman Naval Station.
Wow.
Oh, and on and on and on. And there were Marines too, but the Marines were very particular. They did 2 things. They either guarded the American consulate and the embassy in Panama City, or they rode on ships from the netherworld that went through the canal to make sure nobody did anything nasty and sank a ship. And so anyway, got started. I did this. I did Army Hometown, and I really didn't like it very much. It was kind of boring. And this other guy who was at the station, the SCN, didn't like it there. So we swapped. I started, I billeted then over at SCN, and they came up with an idea that maybe the station went on the air. It was really neat. They had radio 24 hours a day. They had TV from about 6 in the evening to maybe 10 or 11. And they got a new captain come in and run the place. And he thought, we ought to sign on earlier and go later. So they couldn't figure out what to do going on earlier. And somebody said, well, let's do a kids show. So I don't know how I was selected, but anyway, they called the program afternoon. It went from 4 to 5:30. And they dug out, I have no idea where they got it, a jumpsuit, Air Force jumpsuit, and a pilot's helmet with the visor and the whole business. Here you are, Pickard, put it on. And I called myself Nicky the crew chief.
Nicky the crew chief.
So because there are crew chiefs in the United Air Force, there are also at the time the head of communist Russia was Nikita Khrushchev, and I thought that was a play on words.
What a great play.
Cornball, yeah. But so anyway, that was in July of 1964, and we were on for a couple of months. And Captain Crawford, he came in one day. He says, Pickard, I don't know if we're getting any better doing this than doing anything else. We've got no response. And I said, well, I don't know what to tell you, Captain. But he said, I'll tell you what. Labor Day is coming up, and right next door to us was Albrook Air Force Base. And so they have an air show over there. Let's announce that Nicky the crew chief is going to be at the air show. See what happens. I said, okay. So my director, Don Sullivan, and I hopped in the back. It was an old Ford Econoline van or something. And I had my zoot suit on and stuff. And we drove over and pulled up and sitting inside there. And he said, somebody went outside. And now, kids, Nicky the crew chief. And they flipped open the back door. An army of little teeny Nicky, oh, holy moly. I had the best time.
Wow.
Oh, it was great. I mean, and we finally got done about 6 o'clock. I was whipped and got back in the truck, and we started back over, and Sully looked over and says, Chaz, you got a job. And it was great.
Well, you were off and running at that point.
Yes, ma'am. And
you found your audience.
And there was a lady who I'm trying to, I can't remember her name right now. Anyway, she was in charge of the Canal Zone SPCA, and she would bring in little kitties and puppies, and we'd have her on every Friday. Then we got another guy that worked for the Air Force. They had what they call jungle training center for people who.
Yep, they still have those.
Okay.
Oh yes.
And Harvey he'd worked for the zoo in Toledo, Ohio, but he would to show them about the different animals they'll run into. Don't touch this. This is, you can, it doesn't taste real good, but it's food. And so we called him Harvey the Wild Animal Man, and he showed up once in a while. It had a downside to that once. He brought a really beautiful monkey, a kind of a rare kind. And the guys were coming in and watching, and he was talking about it. And of course, in the studio, you have a lot of what they call Klieg lights, big things that blast down light. And it's very disorienting if you don't know what's going on. Well, the monkey got confused and he broke loose.
Oh, no.
And he was swinging from beam to beam. And everybody, of course, is laughing. And Harvey was getting more angry by the minute because he was responsible for this very expensive and precious piece of meat. And finally, he caught him. And I don't think Harvey came back again. I don't think he was, But anyway, so.
What a neat start, though, to the broadcasting world and getting to do a TV show that, gave such joy to the family members and the other people that were there. I mean, that's what I'm hearing from that, is that you kind of got your start by just realizing that you could tell these stories. But you had been telling stories for a long time, Dad. I just watched some home movies from our Uncle Bill where you were making films at a very young age. Yes.
Yes. I'm going to get Bill for that. No, it was fun. Yeah. But those were, must have been maybe early teens or probably about 11 or 12. But one of the guys had a little 8mm camera. We'd make these really stupid movies, as you saw the other day.
Yes.
But
it's great fun and good way to connect with others. And so you get to college, you get your communications degree, then you join the Army, and then your Army stint is up. And then what happens?
Well, I sent back home an application, if you will, for a job to 3 of the radio stations here in Columbus. And when I got back to the States, you go back and then they muster you out. But when I got there, I called home and I said, I'm back in the States. I'll be home in about 6 days. And Mom said, well, you got a call from WRFD. And Bill Collins would like to talk to you when you get home. I said, great. So I went back, talked to him, and he said, what I need is somebody, what they call a continuity director, that makes sure that all the scripts are in the studio, and this, that, and the other thing. And I thought, hey, it's a job in radio. I'll take it. So I did, and I actually did a couple of commercials. Then, after I did that for a couple of years, they had an FM station in the same building, but it had been used to broadcast in-store music and things like that. They decided to turn it into a real radio station, and the guy that was in charge of that said, would you like to come and be with us and be on the air? I said, sure. Get a chance. So I turned into a disc jockey.
That's amazing. And just real quick, we got a couple people that said hi. Brian Edwards said hello.
Oh, good.
He's a friend of my husband's. Great guy. And then we also have Chris Johnson, our cousin.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Yes.
All right.
So I want to say hi to everyone who's tuning in. Thank you very much. Sorry we don't have like the big wide angle camera. These are all growing pains as I continue to do this. But back to your story, Dad. Go ahead.
Well, it inspires them to be imaginative. Well, so I worked at WNCI, that's Nationwide Communications Incorporated. Did that for a couple of years, and I had promoted a little bit to like program director, and I really didn't like it, so I resigned and went to work for a friend of mine who was in advertising. And that didn't work out well because Tom wanted to move back to California, and I wasn't going to move to California.
Right.
So as it turned out, they had a job opening back at the station where I had worked. So I got the 6 to 10 a.m. air shift and got a chance to become a real rock jock. And it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Had a good time.
What was it like being a DJ? Did you do call-ins and like people calling in and asking for songs and all kinds of requests and dedications and other things?
They did it first, but we finally changed the phone number because it just. But it was interesting to do different things. One thing I did was we of course being in Columbus and Ohio State and football and Michigan and Ohio State. Well, it was the day before the Michigan game. They were coming down here that year. And so I said, as a special treat, we're going to have the Ohio State University Marching Band in here to play a song for you. And what I did was, I have a disc here at home. I think I do, and still, but it was had a track. It had different OSU the marching band performing, and they are wonderful.
Oh, but best marching band ever. Just saying.
Yeah, that's it. And it has one track where they talk about the band, saying, it's put together. Here's how it goes. It starts with the tubas, boom, 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 and it on and on and on and on. And finally, they get to the OSU marching song, and then they play the whole thing through. Hey, so what I told people was, now they're going to be here. The bus is in the parking lot, but they haven't come up yet. And oh, wait a minute, here comes some of them down the hall now. Get in there, guys. Look, we got to cut for news here in 3 minutes. So go ahead, do anything. So we started the disc, and this boom, boom, boom. Oh, here comes some of the horns. And then bum, 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 bum. Finally ended up the whole thing. They played the OSU marching thing all the way through, and we went into news. And that was one of the triumphs. But unfortunately, being in radio, things can change. And one of the things that I didn't know was changing was that they were going to change their whole programming outlook. What we had done before was just play all kinds of music, well, rock music, but a wide spectrum of artists. They decided they're going to go to a thing where they only played 20 songs, just over and over and over again. And so that was going to start on a Monday. I had didn't know anything about this. I was called in Saturday afternoon on your mother's birthday and also our wedding anniversary. And I was taking a nap because I'd gotten up at 5:30 in the morning. So phone rang, and it was the program director, and he said, Chaz, can you come by the station? And I said, now? He said, yeah. I said, yeah, I can do that. I'll be over there in about 20 minutes. And it was only about 1.5 miles away. So Carol, my mom said, what was that? I said, well, he was calling. I think I'm going to be fired. So I'm going to go over and get fired. Gosh. And you and Mike can, Mikey was 3 then. He said, you and Mike can sit downstairs and have a Coke. They can fire me. I'll come downstairs. We'll come home, get the babysitter, and we'll go out and celebrate our anniversary. Oh, yeah. So I came over, and it was took about 20 minutes. I didn't say anything. They just talked, and I'm right. Blah, 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 blah. I said, well, it's been a lot of fun working here, though, and it really has. And I meant that. So that
you ended on a good note too. You didn't burn a bridge with them. They didn't. They said what they had to say.
Right,
But at the same time, you know what that's a testament to is the fact that you still maintain that relationship even though you knew you were being fired. Right.
Yeah. Yes. And
you didn't try to go out with a bang or be mean or any of those things.
I was the bizarre thing was this was in September, and at about late October, the program director, E. Carl, gave me a call. He says, Chaz, I wonder if you could come by, do me a favor. Yeah, what you need, eh? I don't fire twice. Anyway, so they wanted to do a Christmas thing. And by golly, I do a good Santa Claus. So I came in to do it. Mom said, you're not going to go over and do anything for those people. And I said, I don't really care. I said, it's just, no skin off my nose. I will explain what happened to me after I got fired. And so I did that. Later on, my boss, the ultimate boss, Phil Sheridan, said, Chaz, I did some research afterwards, and he said, I think that you were not treated fairly. And there are a lot of things. I said, well, I didn't feel that either, but that's neither here nor there. What I did do was I slept in the next Monday morning, and I was waked up by a phone call. And it was a guy from one of the biggest ad agency here in Columbus at the time. And he said, Charlie, why aren't you on the air this morning? I said, oh, you didn't hear. I got canned on Saturday. He said, what? I said, yeah. I said, I'm fired. I said, I don't have a job. And what I'm thinking I'm going to do is to try to freelance full time. He said, don't worry, pal, we'll take care of you. Well, it was just before Christmas. So they did the commercials for the Lazarus department stores, which was big stuff. And I started doing those for radio and TV voice. And I never was on TV, which is okay by me, but I did TV voiceovers.
But it's like the universe just opened up.
Yeah.
You know, this one opportunity closed its door, and then this entire other door opened.
Exactly. And people were very good to me. I worked hard, got established relations with several of the different stations or the ad agencies, here in town. And then I decided I went down to Dayton and just went around to the studios, basically.
Yes.
And
I remember this growing up, Dad. You remember, and I'm trying to be in the camera because there's my husband, Harry. Hey, Teresa, where's the other half of your face? It's right here, babe. But one of my most cherished childhood memories, Dad, was when we would go on our drives together.
Oh, okay.
So Dad would take me all over Central Ohio and Cincinnati and Cleveland and Dayton, and we would get McDonald's drive-through every time. I'd get the 2 cheeseburger Happy Meal or whatever it was, and we would listen to the Beatles.
Oh yeah,
your Beatles cassette tapes. It was just such a memorable. And those poor secretaries had to deal with me in the lobby. Yes. So you would go do your recordings, but. It was such a neat lifestyle because you had so much flexibility. Yeah,
I had a lot of time I could be at home. I didn't have to worry. I had to do a lot of, roll out at 5 and to be in Toledo at 9, that kind of stuff. But that's okay too. I think my championship thing was I had a 9 o'clock in Cincinnati on a Friday morning. And immediately after that, I had to drive to Toledo.
I remember when you would do those things. You would just do one after the other. And you hustled.
Yeah.
I mean, you hustled to get yourself out there. You had a business card. I remember you had a logo. You had all those things. And did you know that your website is still active?
Oh, my goodness.
Did you know that?
Oh, I guess I did.
I'll do a link to the description. But yes, his website is still active. Oh, we got a message here. Hi, Mr. Pickard and Terry, from Janelle, an old friend of Michael and Terry. I remember hearing your voice narrating an orientation video as a Lazarus new employee.
Oh, my goodness. I think, I remember Janelle.
Yeah. Michael's friend.
Yes. Yeah. And I didn't realize, I remember I did that. I did a lot of things I don't remember anymore, but it was a lot of fun. And, and also educational in a way. I found out a lot of things because, especially there were a lot of commercials, but also I did a lot of narrations, and especially in Toledo, there were a lot of businesses up there then, Champion Spark Plugs, and the people that did the sprayers and stuff. I cannot remember their name now, but and Libby Owens Ford, places like that. And I enjoy doing narrations. You feel like you're sort of imparting knowledge to people and helping them out a little bit. And then it's always fun to do spots because
well, it's neat to have your dad be a voice that people recognize. So when I was in 8th grade, I'm sitting in music class and they're about to put in a video cassette player about Bishop Watterson High School. So that's where I went to high school, freshman, sophomore, and junior year. And all of a sudden, we're about to watch this video that's going to tell us about Bishop Watterson. And I hear Charlie Pickard narrating the video. Same thing happened with OSU. You did the back in the day when you used to have to click on the keypad. Right.
I'd forgotten about that.
The keypad to register for classes. Dad, you were the voice that would tell people press 3 to register. Press 4 for this. So, and then your biggest campaign was for Big Bear.
That's right.
Big Bear supermarkets.
They were the big local in town. Kroger, of course, was big here too, but they're from Cincinnati. But I started doing the Big Bear commercials in 1989, I think, and I did them till they went out of business. And they switched over. It was several years with still Big Bear, and then they were purchased by PNC, and I can't think out of Syracuse, New York, bought them out. And then I went with them till it fizzled out in, I think, 2003. So that was about 15 years almost. But yes, you're a man about groceries here.
Yes. So you've had this just amazing career in broadcasting. You've gone from, broadcasting in the Army to being a DJ to being self-employed. But there's so much more to you, Dad, than just the career. But I wanted to kind of start with that because, I'm sort of carrying on the family tradition in some ways,
Well,
in a communication related field, and especially now with having a podcast and being doing broadcasting. But what I really want to know too is through broadcasting and storytelling, you've always been somebody who's given back to others and being of service. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things and some of the projects that you've been a part of throughout your life that were in service to others?
Well, this sounds I was thinking about that earlier, and because I thought, well, what do I do? I babble on the air, or I buy this. But a lot of the training films can be helpful. But I was thinking, I especially enjoyed working part-time at WOSU in later years on the classical music area, which unfortunately, with the pandemic started last year, that's it. But it was the idea that I'd like to chat with people on the air, not babble too much, but just here's a piece of music, and then give a little bit of background about it. Or listen to the trumpet player does this really spectacular thing. Or the one that popped into my mind, there is called Variations on the Theme by Paganini and by Sergei Rachmaninoff. And it's 24 different little bits and pieces of music, all based on the basic theme of and the interesting things about it, one of them is that the first variations is played before you hear the theme itself. And then the last variation is upside down and backwards.
Oh, wow.
And it's a beautiful piece of music. But then you can chat with the folks on the air. I always think I'm just talking to one person, and listen for this and do that, and just try to be relax and
and be educated about it. One thing you guys can't see here is that we have books all over this house. In fact, I'm going to be taking a big stack of books back with me that they no longer read, but we were a reading household, and a household that where we education and learning new things and understanding how things work was always very important to both you and Mom.
Yeah. And the kids, I think, it rubbed off on you and Michael, and I hope. And I remember, I don't know how they came here, but people selling Encyclopedia Britannica. Well, we had at that time we had two big bookshelves or bookcases in the living room, and the guy sort of, we got a live one, and so we bought the encyclopedia for the kids and ourselves too, and that was a lot of fun. But books are always have been fun books and study books, and you've turned into be a kind of little bookworm.
I am. I love to read, and music as well. I got that from you guys. You've always made music a big part of our lives. We would always have music playing in the house anytime, and we had tons of records. I see Dad have stacks and stacks of records. So that was always a big part of our lives as well. Besides just the service that you've done through broadcasting, though, I think you've also done some things with your church as well over the years, right?
That's true.
You were in the choir.
Oh, that's right. I'd forgotten that.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. We had an excellent choir mistress, I guess, Linda Ebright. She was a skilled musician, and she knew what she wanted, and it got it. We had 4-part harmony, and it was a lot of fun. And I think I was in that for about 10 years.
Wow.
And then also I read the lectionaries and for the gospel and I don't read the gospel, but the epistle and things like that.
Yep.
And
it's just all kinds of things that you've done throughout the years. And then the one thing that I've always taken away from you, Dad, is that you don't know a stranger.
Oh,
you talk to everyone. You're just so friendly to every person that you guys come across, and people remember that. Neighbors. People that Mom has worked with over the years. You've touched so many people just by living a virtuous and a good life. And it's something that as I grow older, I become even more thankful for and grateful for. So I appreciate all that you've done, to try to instill in myself and in Michael what being a good person and showing up to be of service to others is all about. And, you were a big inspiration in someone I thought about when I decided to start this podcast.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's glad to be a part of it.
Yes. So as we're wrapping up, we'll do these between about, up to an hour, but sometimes we will wrap up quicker, just depending on how the conversation's going. We do have a message from Brian. He said that you remind him of his father. Great to meet your dad, Teresa. I have to leave now, but I'm glad I was able to catch a lot of your interview. So I guess what I'd like to ask you is if somebody wants to be of service to others, or they're going through a tough time and in their lives, and it's just things are just looking really down. What do you think showing up and being a vessel of service can do for you personally?
Oh, I think it can bolster your opinion of yourself, and which is a good thing. You don't want to have too much of an opinion of yourself, but you also don't want to be down on yourself ever. Because who knows what's going to happen right around the corner. You've got to hang in there and keep going. Don't give up. Don't turn on yourself, for goodness sakes. You've got to be your own friend. Maybe not your best friend, but you've got to have faith in yourself, and when you're willing to share that faith in yourself with other people by helping them in some way or another, you are bolstering yourself again. And it's a win-win situation, I would think.
It really is. Now, if somebody doesn't know where they want to start to help others, how would you advise them to get started?
Oh boy. Well, if you are a churchgoer, the church is always a good place to find out.
To start.
Yeah, because a lot of times there are myriad ways in any, not the denomination doesn't matter, that there are always people who need food, people who need shelter, people who need education, perhaps. So you can start at your church. Perhaps if you a place where you work, although right now things are so whacked up because of the pandemic, sometimes businesses have places where their employees can offer service to the public in one way or another. You can check that out. I guess if nothing else, use yourself or organize a little group among your friends and offer to do something.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Dad. A great example is we've got somebody in our community who needed to get her accreditation in public relations. And so she started her own study group. And so she got her friends together and thought that the competition would help and motivate her. And so she helped herself and she helped her community at the same time. So I think another way is, using your skills like you have in broadcasting. You've used the things that that you do well in a capacity that can serve others. So there's all kinds of ways to be of service to others. Hopefully this podcast will be a vessel of service to others. I thank you all for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, Dad.
Oh, thank you.
Do you have anything else that I should have asked you that I forgot?
I don't think so. I wanted to tease you though. Teresa mentioned that she went to Waterston for freshman, sophomore, and junior. She came home from school after her junior year and said, "I don't want to go back in September, and you can't make me." And I said, "Babe, you just saved me $2,200." But Teresa, she went to school that fall at a different school, and she said, "Golly, I learned a lot of this last year." But she's done very well for herself. Don't be down on her for that.
Had some hard times, but I got through it in a good place.
I just wanted to tease you a little bit, but you're a sweetie.
Right.
And I'm very proud of you and what you've accomplished in the last 25 years. Well, the other thing, she came home one day and said, "I joined the Army, or joined the Navy." I said, "Oh my gosh, we thought she was going to be like Navy Reserve."
That's what I thought. That's what they told me at first too. They were like, "Oh, this is just a 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year kind of thing, right?" And they're like, "Yeah, right." And it wasn't until I went to MEPS that I realized that this was a full-time thing. I had no idea. They bamboozled me at first. Yes, recruiters lie never.
Well, they got a good deal out of you, Toots. So.
Yeah. Well, it was a pleasure having you. We're going to go ahead and sign off on the broadcast.
Thank you.
But I appreciate having you on and love you.
Love you too.
And just thank you so much. Tune in in another couple weeks. We're going to have an amazing friend of mine. I think she's tuning in right now. She even said a couple nice comments on here. Jenny Harmon is going to be our next guest. in a couple weeks, and we're going to learn all about her career in her 40s, taking up skateboarding, and a fellow artist. So I just can't wait to talk to her. All right, guys. You guys all take care. Dad, you can look at the camera and talk to you all later. Bye.
Bye.